So real quick, again, my name is Kareem. I'm 27 years old from a town called Upper Darby, which sits on the right outside of West Philadelphia. Currently living in South Jersey. All of my wholesale deals and properties I have bought to this day have been out of state in Ohio. I've been doing this business 100% virtual with an engineering job for the past, I'd say, 2.5 years. I actually just fired my 9 to 5 job last month, but during that time, I've been leveraging that. I know something Najee has taught me too, big time. The way to look at it is that 9 to 5 has been my investment partner, right? It's been paying the bills, all the day to day, expenses. That way, I can really reinvest my real estate money 100% of the time. So from that first check, the second, third, fourth, fifth, I've been recycling that real estate money to buy property, wholesale more deals, put into market, and hired assistants. That way, I was able to really kind of expedite and accelerate my business in the past couple of years. So yeah, I'm at this point I'm a little bit again 2.5 years into my entrepreneurship journey altogether. So when I started this, I was brand new to real estate. I was brand new to entrepreneurship, something very different than what I've done in the past. Again, I'm a virtual wholesaler. I purchased 2 properties in my first year of wholesaling real estate, but that was a major milestone for me because I was like, okay, I'm a wholesaler real estate. I never thought I would have the potential of actually taking down a couple of doors.
Well,
The
and you're
first one,
27. Hold on, like that's that part. Like don't skip over that part. That's pretty
27, man.
young. That's pretty young, bro. Congratulations on that.
I appreciate it, man. Yeah, I started this business when I was 25. I'm currently 27, but I'm going 28 at the end of this year. So I'm just every day is I have to turn it up. Like I live every day like, okay, how can I really move that needle? I was in the back of my head like, what can I do today that's going to really push this business forward and get me further into my journey? So a couple of years of that, man. I've been really going at it hard for sure. So my first property I bought, it was like a quick flip. I took it down for, and this is no lie, I could pull up the HUDs and everything. I took a property down for about, trying to remember, it's like $1,800 tenant occupied in Akron, Ohio. The house needed everything. The retaining wall was falling apart. The city was on the previous seller's back. I had a lot of issues with it, but the seller's like, Kareem, at this point, it's not even about the money. We have a major dispute with the tenant. We're on really bad terms with them. We just want some peace of mind. So at this point, if you could just recoup some of the lost rent that we've lost for the past couple of years, that would be great. So it went from their initial asking price of 20K down to 1,800. And I'm like, man, I never bought a house before because I was dealing with somebody local, and it was so intimidating at the time. But I was like, $1,800, it's a no brainer. So I took it out for $1,800, tenant occupied. I got 1 month worth of rent. Super risky, by the way. Like I shouldn't inherit this tenant, but it still worked out because I built such a good rapport with her. I collected 1 month of rent and I sold it. I sold it 5 days within, like once I purchased that property for 20K. And it took 30 days to close, but that amount of profit, it was like about 16K after all closing costs and things shook out. 16K profit, very significant wholesale check for myself. Again, I'm working at a 9 to 5. Like it would have taken me like years to save up to 11K, 16, 20,000. So the fact I'm making these checks in one sum, like it gets addicted. You take that money, you
25.
reinvest it.
That ain't bad. That ain't
At
bad.
25 years old, for sure.
And
So
before
like,
you get started, Kareem, I don't mean to cut you off. I
no, you
apologize.
good.
This is a wholesaling class. You're gonna talk about wholesaling, but I want people to understand. I like to almost call it direct to seller, like my guy Sean Ackerman, right?
Yes.
Going direct or just being able to find properties on discount. You can choose to exit however you choose to exit. Today, we're talking about choosing to exit via selling the property as a wholesale deal, right? But the same skills that we're going to learn today, and I really want people to get this piece, these skills apply whether you're buying, hold, or not, right? The whole game is just being able to acquire properties on discount. That's the game. And then however you choose to exit, however you choose to exit. Back to you, Kareem.
No, that's so true. And I really want to dig into that point too, because I never forget you were showing up to when I was a mentee. Well, I'm always learning, man, honestly. But you showed up to Mint 215's class, and something that you really honed in on was when you make an offer on property, when you put it under contract, you need to have multiple exit strategies. Like to this day, like I don't buy a property unless I know I can wholesale it quickly for cash. I can sell it, finance, and hold a promissory note on it. I can buy and hold, fix and flip, sometimes novations. It's always best to have options. you really can find a mistake when you buy specifically just to kind of arbitrage Airbnb, like we were talking about, or something like that. Nothing wrong with that. But if you do it thinking, oh, if I do this, it's going to work out that way. If there's some faults along that way, then you're stuck in that property. So the name of the game of wholesaling, that's why it's such a great building base, because it really teaches you how to get properties under contract, direct to seller for discount. And that's most important. But before we jump right into wholesale, I kind of want to paint a picture about, again, who I am, where I come from. So this journey started about 3 years ago, 2021. I was unemployed. I was coming out of the engineering field. I was unemployed. Unemployment, that the whole COVID boom with things like that was drying up for me. And I'm washing cars, for that cash under the table. I'm literally making like $350 a week. Like, I was barely sustaining myself for it. It was crazy. And at the time, like with my wife, she was going to nursing school. So she was working, and she like, Reem, like, I'm about to go full-time nursing school. I need to lock in. And she left her job, and I knew I had to cover the bills for both of us, right? So I was like, okay, cool. I left that detail shop. I went back into engineering because I never wanted to be working, corporate engineering at that, design engineer, which, it sounds cool and everything. Is, it was good pay for sure. But it was a type of environment I wasn't too happy with, right? But I knew what I had to do at the moment. So I got back into it. It was a virtual office job, and I'm working, right? I picked up the job, but I knew that I didn't want this for the rest of my life. Like, there had to be something else. There had to be some sort of breakthrough for me to replace this at some point in my life, right? So that summer 2021, I'm looking up side hustles, Amazon FBA, all sorts of things, right? And I came across, again, shout out to my first real estate mentor, Mitt215 from Philly, and he's on a podcast talking about being a middleman in real estate transactions. I'm like, what is that? Because in my head, I always wanted to own real estate, but I need 20% saved up, all sorts of money. Like, it would take me years of working to save up to buy one piece of property. But he's teaching how you don't need cash or credit. You can enter real estate transaction, be the middleman. You're flipping the contract from the seller to the buyer. You're building experience, and you're making money in that process in 30 days or less, typically, right? And I'm completely intrigued at this point. I'm like, I got to learn more about this. I'm just something I definitely wanted to jump into. And I remember at the time, man, I was like, I never bought an Instagram course. Like, I'm super skeptical. I'm like, what? Like, people buy a course on Instagram? But I was like, what do I have to lose? I spent thousands of dollars on student loan debt, right? That I'm paying to this day. What is an $800 course at the time? And that moment right there was like probably the best decision I made in my life to this day. Like, that's how I got into wholesaling real estate. That's how I got into real estate. Because once you make that entry into wholesaling, it's going to go into buying homes and all sorts of things, whatever you want to take it. So with a whole lot of hard working, man, and being coachable, man, you can really change your life with this stuff for sure. So I didn't come from some crazy sales position, things like that. Like, the whole idea of even cold calling when I first started, man, was like very intimidating too. But it's a lot. The life you're looking for is on the other side of fear, for sure.